This set of slides outlines investor characteristics. So often unaccounted for in traditional models of rational investor behavior, such factors as personality, life experiences, and personal circumstances can play an important role in determining the framework for adjusting financial decisions. Many useful attempts have been made to categorize individual investors by a stage of life or by economic circumstance. Such situational profiling runs the risk of oversimplifying complex behavior and should be used with a measure of caution, as individual investors are unique and likely to exhibit characteristics that cut across many arbitrary lines of categorization. Nonetheless, situational profiling can serve as a useful first step in considering an investor's basic philosophy and preferences, facilitating the discussion of investment risk by anticipating areas of potential concern or special importance to the investor. So source of wealth is important, as the manner in which an individual has acquired wealth offers insight into that investor's attitude towards risk. Self-made investors have greater familiarity with risk-taking, but also have a strong sense of personal control over the risks they assume. They can be reluctant to concede control or to accept investment volatility over which they have no influence. Passive recipients of wealth may be associated with reduced willingness to assume risk. They have less experience with risk-taking, less understanding of what taking risk means, and less confidence that they can rebuild their wealth should it be lost. Measure of wealth is important because investors who perceive their wealth holdings as small may demonstrate lower tolerance for portfolio volatility than investors who perceive their holdings as large. A portfolio whose returns do not easily support the investor's lifestyle might be considered small. If the investor's ongoing needs are so well covered that succession and estate planning issues have become important, the portfolio might be considered large. And stage of life is important because, theoretically, a person's ability to accept risk should begin at a high level and gradually decline through its lifetime, while willingness to assume risk should be driven largely by cash flow considerations, i.e. income versus expenses. The human financial condition is driven by additional factors, however, such as life experiences, living conditions, starting point on the scale of wealth, and personal abilities and ambition. And an investment policy can be viewed as passing through four general phases: the foundation phase, accumulation, maintenance, and distribution. The foundation phase is where an individual is establishing the base from which wealth will be created, for example, skills. Usually young people with a long time horizon should have an above average tolerance for risk. Ironically, at the point in life in which individuals should theoretically be ready to assume risk, they are either unwilling or unable to do so. The accumulation phase is where earnings accelerate as returns accrue from acquired skills and abilities during the foundation period and gradually reach their peak. In the early years of the accumulation phase, income rises and investable assets begin to accumulate. Expenses also rise during this period through the establishment of a family, purchase of a house, and care and education of children. In the middle and later years of wealth accumulation, expenses typically begin to decline as children reach adulthood, educational needs are fulfilled, and home purchases are completed. Income generally continues to rise as the individual reaches peak productivity. If an individual's personal spending habits do not change, the gap between income and expenses may widen throughout the accumulation phase, allowing for an increase in savings. In the maintenance phase, it's the later years of life, and usually retired from daily employment or the pressures of owning a business. This phase focuses on maintaining the desired lifestyle and financial security. Preserving accumulated wealth begins to increase in importance, while the growth of wealth may decline in importance. Risk tolerance will decline. It is a challenge to achieve portfolio stability and enough risk to preserve purchasing power. Finally, in the distribution phase, wealth is transferred to other persons or entities. Dealing with tax constraints is important as a consideration. Planning for the transfers in the distribution phase can begin much earlier. Efficient wealth transfers take advantage of market conditions, tax laws, and various transfer mechanisms. Progression through phases may or may not be linear. There can be career changes, illness. Some investors never leave the accumulation phase. So the value of situational profiling is in their general insights and less in their ability to fully interpret individual circumstances. And with psychological profiling, you can see there are 4 categories there. So the cautious investor is generally loss adverse. This may be a result of their financial situation or of various life experiences, but most need financial security. There is a desire for low volatility investments with little personal loss of capital. They don't like making decisions and are not easily persuaded by others, and they often miss opportunities because of an over-analysis or fear of taking action. Methodical investors rely on hard facts. They may intently follow market analysts or undertake research on trading strategies. Typically, they remain on a quest for new and better information. Their reliance on analysis generally keeps them from developing emotional attachment to investment positions, and their discipline makes them relatively conservative investors. Spontaneous investors are constantly readjusting their portfolio allocations and holdings. They fear a negative consequence with new market developments, and they tend to be over-managers. Thus, they have high portfolio turnover rates and experience below average returns. And individualistic investors, they have a self-assured approach to investing. They gain information from a variety of sources and are not adverse to devoting time to their trading or investment portfolio. They place faith in hard work and insight and have confidence in their decisions. And this helps you to categorize into the psychological profiles, so where people make decisions based primarily on thinking and they are more risk averse, they are classified as methodical. If it's primarily on thinking but they're less risk averse, they're individualist. If they make their decisions based on feeling and are more risk averse, they're cautious. And if it's based on feeling and less risk averse, it's spontaneous.